I am the mystical Baconini, and we shall consult the magical sphere of FPVdom to see what the world of FPV will look like in 2023. Yeah, it's a bunch of bullcrap. Total crap. Hey everybody, I'm Bacon Ninja, and this ball is not magical. It is just an average child's toy, and the only thing magical about it is that my children have not yet found a way to totally destroy it. So I guess that's saying something. That's some kind of magic that ball has. But I know why you're here right now. You're here because you want to know if FPV dies in 2023. Well, before I tell you about that, let's just talk about why I'm making the video. Well, at least let me get through that part. Come on, hang in there a few more seconds. So, what I'm going to do here is give you my predictions for what 2023 looks like in FPV. The things that we're going to see happen, the things that we're not going to see happen. And then at the end of the year, in December, we're going to go back through this video. So I'm just going to go ahead and tell you now. In the comments below, drop a comment about what your prediction is for the year 2023 in FPV. And in December, we're going to run back through them all. So get in there, leave it. Just go do that. And in December, I'm going to see if you were right. And I'm going to see if I was right. And we'll decide who was crazy and who wasn't crazy. We'll summarize it. And we'll do this again next year because I kind of want to make this a thing. I think it's pretty interesting. But now back on that subject of does FPV die in 2023? I'm not going to make you wait any longer for that one. No, FPV doesn't die in 2023. All these people are always saying, and maybe not so much lately, but at least a year ago, I remember seeing, 3 different people say FPV is dead. And before that, people were saying FPV is dead. And some people think FPV is dead now. But hell, I'm still here and you're still here. So FPV is not dead. Now, what is dead about FPV in 2023, I think, is the growth spurt. There hasn't really been a growth spurt in 2022. The prices got so high on everything that the growth just kind of stalled. There were some new pilots joining the hobby, but there were also pilots leaving the hobby. And I think it was about an equal equation. It's not going to help in 2023. The prices are not going to change. We'll get there later. That's another prediction. But FPV is not going to die in 2023. It's just going to stay right where it is. In fact, I think a lot of people think that 2023 is going to be kind of a bad year for gear because things are just going to kind of stall out. But again, we'll get to some of those predictions as well. But just remember, at the end of the day, in 2023, I don't think FPV dies. And if it does die, I'm going to look like a real idiot in December. So, yeah. Hopefully it doesn't die till really close to December so that I can look like an idiot in the month in which it happens. Because I don't want to look like an idiot in July and then have to come back in December and make a video about how I look like an idiot over the summer. That's just stupid. But if I was an idiot, I guess it would be stupid. Anyway, let me stop talking about all this and let's get into the actual predictions now that we know that FPV is not going to die in 2023. It's still going to be here. So my first prediction is that 2023 is the year in which digital systems really start to see competition for the first time. You know, in 2022, we had the walk snail system release, but basically we had DJI, which has been around for a while. They were on like a second iteration of the gear. It had been around for a couple of years. We had HD0, which again had been around for a while, but adoption was just not terrific for HD0. A lot of people focused on it for racing, and there was a lot of racing-focused gear, but the gear was kind of first gen, and VTXs weren't highly available, and the technology hadn't really grown. In 2023, we're going to see real, legitimate competition for the digital FPV market. I think that by the end of the year, DJI will still be on top of that market because of the O3 Air Unit, and it's going to get more features, and it's going to get better than it already is, and it's already pretty freaking good. But we're not going to see the Vista or the Link because Caddx isn't even selling the Vista anymore now, and it's just barely 2023. We're going to continue to see the Link available. I'm not so sure that we're going to continue to see the original Air Unit available, but we're going to see both versions of the DJI system running around still in 2023 at the top of the list. I think, though, that walk snail is going to grab a significant portion of the people that would be flying the older DJI system. I think that's going to diminish a little bit. The need for that is going to kind of go down if you don't already own the system. And people are going to be picking up the VRX and slapping it on their HD0 goggles because the next thing to talk about is HD0. Because I think this year is the first year that HD0 will be able to say They are a legitimate digital system competing in the digital realm in FPV. Now, it will never be the same as Walksnail or DJI. It just can't be. The technology is different. But I think that with the HD0 goggles being as terrific as they absolutely are, and the price point for them, even though we're kind of in this weird gray zone where we're not sure how long that price point is going to last, being basically cheaper than every other analog goggle with OLED screens available today, people are going to buy those to run analog. And then they're going to have HD0 built into their goggles. And then they're just going to try HD0 when they maybe wouldn't have in the first place because it's already on their face. It's so convenient. And then they're going to start running mixed fleets of HD0 and analog. So we're going to see HD0 gain market share this year. I think we're going to see some other vendors put out VTXs and hardware for HD0. I think we're going to see the Walksnail VRX take a big chunk out of the DJI market. But I think we're going to end the year with DJI still on top just because at the end of the day, people who want to go digital tend to care about the video quality. And DJI's got everyone roped there. They have the best video quality, and I don't think that's going anywhere. And people will put up with the variable latency, and they will put up with the bigger latency numbers because they just like the look of the system, regardless of if they want to run an action camera or not. So DJI is going to win. Walksnail is going to compete with them really, really hard. And HD0 is going to have the best year it's ever had, I think. Another prediction of the kind of same genre, Orca. Where you been at, Orca? Where's your digital system you showed us at CES last year, Orca? Nothing about that? Not a single thing? Okay, cool. Cool, Orca. Real nice. That's not going to come out this year. And if it does, by some miraculous chance come out, it's going to be just too late into the market, and I don't think it's going to do well. They waited entirely too long to get that system out. It has been way too long. They teased it at CES. They haven't really teased it since. I foresee them teasing it shortly because HD0 is starting to take a bite out of them. But I don't think it's going to come out this year. So don't hold your breath, Orca fans. Just cry a little inside and hope better of 2024, I guess. My next prediction is going to be based around control links. And I think we've kind of already seen this one come to light in 2022. I think ExpressLRS is going to take a gigantic bite out of the control link market. And I mean gigantic. It is going to be everywhere in everything and available in any format you want it to be. It is the new FR Sky. It is cheap, easy to implement, and anyone can do it, even though FR Sky really wasn't anyone could do it. But I think all the bind and flies that we see come out in 2023 will have an ExpressLRS version. And some of the hardware that's coming out now is terrific. And some of the radios that are coming out now are terrific. And speaking of radios, I think the Boxer is going to be the biggest radio hit of 2023. It is currently in pre-order, but the form factor of the Mambo with ExpressLRS built in and fully supporting Edge TX is going to murder the market of people that don't want a gamepad style radio, but also don't want a gigantic TX16S. That middle ground there is going to be completely absorbed by the Boxer, which is going to have ELRS in it. I don't think very many people are going to order the foreign one. And it's just going to eat up the market with ExpressLRS. I think that's going to happen. And since we're on the topic of firmware, I think that Betaflight 4.4, which we know is going to come out soon, hopefully it's in several stages of release candidate, since it's going to implement the ELRS 3.0 code into Betaflight 4.4, I think we're going to see a lot more compatibility with SPI receivers, and we're going to get kind of driving on that train again, which we have missed. But I do think by the end of the year, ExpressLRS will have moved past the 3.x versions of ExpressLRS, and we're going to be back in the same boat where we're all waiting for Betaflight 4.5 in order to do that. The only way that that doesn't happen is if somehow, and I'm really crossing my fingers that this prediction is correct, that Betaflight starts using the ability to cloud build the firmware, which is in Betaflight 4.4, to add packages for ExpressLRS support that don't require whole new versions of Betaflight. So you'll be able to go into the flashing window and pull down that you want to add ExpressLRS 4.0 or .1 whenever that comes out, and build a version of Betaflight 4.4 that has that baked in instead of the ExpressLRS 3.0 code. I think that's going to be terrific. And Betaflight as well is going to give you a ton of feature sets this year with HD goggles because, again, it is the year of HD. I think we're going to see Betaflight 4.4's ability to do an HD-based OSD be a real big hit with people. And I think we're going to see all of the major players start accepting an MSP OSD with their VTXs natively so that we don't have to do any weird hackety things to get an OSD. Now, that's only for Betaflight people. I think that iNav and ArduPilot are going to continue to develop and make great strides, but I don't spend enough time in those to really know what they might be doing. So, yeah, if you're an iNav or ArduPilot pilot, leave the comment below about what you think the future is for those firmwares, but that's mine. And this third prediction that I have is going to be about hardware. Well, I don't know if it's the third prediction. I've lost track of all my predictions, but this one's about hardware. We're going to see at least two, and count them 1, 2, motors. New motors come to the market. They're going to get hyped. They're going to get people excited, but it's just going to be the same motor in a different color. That's going to happen. I would be willing to put money on it, but I don't have any money because all my money's on the wall back there. But I'd be willing to put money on it that you see at least 2 motors come out this year with new on them, and they're just new colors or new cutouts on the same old motor. That's going to happen. But actually more exciting than that in hardware, I think that we're going to now be very clear here, start seeing flight controllers come with different MCU chips than we're used to. So we're used to seeing F4, F7, there's some H series chips. We're going to see a whole new line of chips start to be built into our flight controllers, and we're going to see work from Betaflight toward getting that supported. If we don't see Betaflight 4.5 come out in 2023, it's going to be the end of 2023, maybe when that rolls. Maybe we'll see it at the beginning of 2024, but I know that we will see flight controllers start to come with different processors on them. They're already starting to do this for other firmwares because it's cost savings. It's cheaper to put those other chips on there than it is the F-series ARM chips that we're using right now. So they can still utilize them. They have plenty of power for flight controllers. They just have to support them. And I think that this is the year where the price gap starts to push it in that direction. I really do. So it's going to be an interesting year for flight controller hardware, for firmware, and for various colors of motors, if that's what you're into. And, you know, there may be a pilot's name on them that make them cool too. Don't get me wrong, but it's the same motor with different colors on it. And my second to last prediction is that we start seeing a lot of push in the sub 250 gram quad zone, because I'll tell you about my last prediction, which has to do with the big thing that happens in 2023 at the end of this. But I think that we see a huge push towards sub 250. And I think that is going to mean a lot more freestyle oriented quads that are in the 3 and 3.5 inch zone. I don't think we're going to see a lot of development toward 5-inch sub 250 quads, because although Oh My God has an amazing 250 that flies as good as you can make a sub 250 5-inch fly, it is truly amazing what he was able to do there. The durability just isn't the same on a 5-inch of that caliber as it is on 5 inches we freestyle right now, where there's not a lot of consideration for the 250 gram limit. But as we come to the point where we start hitting regulation for the 250 grams, that will actually impact us in the wallet and in the inconvenience a lot more than it does now. I think we're going to start seeing 3 and 3.5 inch quads, maybe even in the 4-inch zone, come out that run 6S, that rip hard, and you can get freestyle footage. And in those quads, what's going to make that possible is the DJI O3 unit, because you can basically run them with no action cam and get really good footage out of them and save an entire action cam's worth of weight on top compared to what we do with our 5-inch drones right now. I mean, you could still run the O3 on the 5-inch and save a lot of weight, but you can't get it down to 250 grams. But you can pack a lot more quad, a lot more motor, a lot more ESC, and a lot more battery on a sub 250 gram 3-inch that is running the O3 unit than you can a 3-inch that's running the not O3 unit and a naked GoPro on top or whatever. It's just not going to equate there. So I think that's really going to enable us to see a large boom in sub 250 gram quads this year. But along to the next thing is remote ID. Remote ID happens in September of 2023. But don't cry and don't burn your villages down. I think that remote ID, when it becomes close, when we get within 90 days of the timeline for remote ID, I think we're going to start seeing a lot of people talk about compliant modules being created. I think there's going to be a large selection of compliant modules. I've actually heard It's Blunty talk about on the FPV news a couple of times how he's part of the FPV Freedom Coalition, and he sees some of that stuff, and he even thinks there's going to be a large selection of modules available prior to that September deadline. However, I think they will be certified, but I'm not sure that we'll be able to buy them. I don't know that we're going to have stock and quantity. It is really hard to get a new product certified, even if it is currently certified, off the ground, fully developed, and in people's hands over the course of a year. Just ask any of the FPV companies that we deal with right now. How long do you think Cadex was developing the walk snail system before they actually sent it to you? A very, very long time. And they haven't had that much time with this remote ID hardware. They still got to get it certified. They've still got to produce it. They've still got to mass produce it, ship it, warehouse it, inventory it. All of the things that need to happen. And that's not something we have a supply chain for at the moment. So I don't think we're going to see the availability of them line up with the timeline for remote ID. And I think that's going to push the remote ID rule back by at least 30 days. And that is also going to mean that by the end of 2023, I don't think we will have seen our first remote ID violation issued by the FAA. I don't think we're going to see an issue of a violation until 2024, sometime when everything starts leveling out. They still are having it feels like a real hard time defining how those rules are going to be enforced and how those rules are even interpreted. If you go watch XJet's video, sorry to butcher your name, XJet, but that dude spends a lot of time talking about dealing with the FAA. In fact, he just wrote him an email the other day, and they couldn't even completely answer his questions. Now, whether you believe that's just one man's experience or the wider experience, believe what you want. But I think in 2023, we're going to see remote ID get instituted, pushed back the institution date, and then we're not going to see a notice of anyone having been fined or slapped on the wrist or whatever they're going to do in 2023. It's going to be 2024. But you probably won't even be able to buy a module until 2024. And while we are on this remote ID train, man, I'm having a really hard time talking. It's just really hard to predict the future with a dry mouth. Hold on a second. That's better. Anyway, we're talking about remote ID. I think that we're going to see a lot of manufacturers start to sell us bind and flies that aren't really bind and flies. They're more going to be plug and play quads. I think that they're going to get around the rule by including the receiver. Don't get me wrong, the receiver will be in the box, or maybe even a separate box. It may be in a separate box from the drone, but we're going to see those receivers start to have pigtails soldered to them with JST connectors, and then we're going to see companies start to tell us to plug that receiver into the flight controller with instructions that come in the box with the quad, although the receiver comes in a separate box with its own set of instructions, and you can buy it separately. So it looks like a separate item that you had to buy together with your drone, and you still have to complete the final installation step before you can arm it and take off. I think that's how they're going to get around selling plug-and-play drones, but I think the days of bind and fly may be over once they figure out how to enforce the rules. It looks like some companies, even though the requirement to continue to sell with standard remote ID, meaning it has to be built in from the factory, is already being skirted by some companies, and it's been hard to interpret. I think in 2023, we see that rule skirted by basically making you get a separate item that you have to plug into the quad. So prepare yourself to have to do those things no matter what thing you get, because your days of getting bind and flies and ready to fly kits may be down the tubes. But that's all. Those are my predictions. Now, I want to see your predictions in the comments below. Please go down there and leave them in their entirety, in their detail, and you can call me stupid if you think mine are stupid. That's fine. Call me stupid. It's all good. Just remember, these will come back to you a year from now. Because in December, I am going to go back to all of them, and we are going to go through them and see who was right and wrong. Now, if there's like 1,000 comments on that thing, I'm obviously going to have to filter through some of it and group people together, but we are going to go through it, and then we're going to determine if it's a good thing to do next January. But fear not, FPV will not die in 2023. Or if it does, I'm going to look stupid. And my last prediction in its entirety. Bacon Ninja's going to lose 50 pounds this year because he's been eating too much bacon and getting a little slow. He needs to lose the 50 pounds, and this video is how he's going to make himself do it, because if not, he'll look like an idiot in December. So this is me threatening myself to lose weight, and if you feel like threatening me too, threaten me, bro. Come at me, bro. Come at me with your threats, bro, about 2023, because I'm going to lose that weight, and these things are maybe going to happen with drones, and the things you say below are maybe going to happen with drones. So let's talk about it in December and see how stupid we were. Nothing like finding out how stupid you are way after the fact. But anyway, that's all I have. Enjoy the comments, let's have a discussion, and until next time, stay greasy, and I'll catch you in December. Oh, Magic Ball, tell me what you predict for the future. I predict that Bacon Ninja will lose half of his subscribers for talking about remote ID on the internet. That's probably pretty valid, isn't it?